Welcome to Wise Beyond Bitcoin, where you come for the crypto neo news, education, and opportunities. My name is Lucas.
And my name is Ryan.
And we've got some news, some education, and I suppose opportunities are there somewhere. This is more of a macro update, although we often talk about crypto, blockchain, secret network because of its privacy solutions and the innovations happening in this new technology. There's a lot happening in the world that affects this new technology and how it will be used, when it will take off, and adoption. And part of that is affected by the world at large, geopolitical tensions. We've got a whole playlist dedicated to that. Is that about right?
That's right. Yeah, we do. Definitely check out the playlist. We have all kinds of good stuff there, and for secret, for NFTs, airdrops, choosing validators, how to, if you're new to the secret network or the IBC in general, we can show you how to get the Kepler wallet started and how to stake and send and all that good stuff. So we have a playlist for everybody. So check those out.
And the macro outlook, which we're going to add to today, because there's a lot happening post Russia, Ukraine conflict, war, actions, whatever you want to call it, bad things happening to people in the world. And other people are reacting to these bad things happening. And they're saying, we don't want to support that. And this is what we're going to do. And I suppose not using force and not using a military and finding other ways to put pressure to find a peaceful resolution, that's about,
it's better than violence, right?
Absolutely. And what are businesses, what are they doing right now in order to kind of put this pressure and start this? Now, not McDonald's. I know there's a McDonald's and Pizza Hut are sticking around, it says right there. So the people still have their fast food chains in place they can go to spend time with their families. Big Mac, Starbucks, KFC, Papa John's, all that stuff. But the stuff that is going to be leaving are like Boeing.
Bigger, bigger names and bigger jobs, right?
Yeah, Boeing announced Monday it's looking elsewhere for its titanium. And we have another article later about another heavy metal that is big news that's no longer going to be as part of the sanction list. Let's just put it that way. And
there's other energy companies too. I mean, big names like Shell, BP, Exxon, all are suspending operations. French oil company named Total Energies is another. So that's going to make a big impact, right? Because these are employers. This is big part of the Russian GNP. You know, this is part of what these shutting these operations down. That's output reduced. That's jobs that are going to get suspended or ended, and that's incomes that are gone, and that's people's livelihoods. That's how they live and eat. And then that money that they spent on those, they got their paycheck, they paid their rent, they paid for their kids' clothes and their wife's stuff. All those expenditures now are going to dry up too. So there's this big kind of reflexive.
This is going to cause a major recession, depression,
no doubt,
in the Russian economy. This is going to hurt a lot of families and a lot of people right now. And in the US, people say, oh, the job market's not looking good. We're not having, when the oil prices go up and people are out there refining, drilling and getting work done, people are happy. The money's flowing and there's opportunity. And right now, you mentioned before the video, something that we're going to talk about in the next article, but when the liquidity for the financial system dries up, and that means that the people, they don't have as much at the bank, that they don't have as much credit, they don't have, what they're used to. And as sad as everything is that's happening, which it is, hopefully it can resolve sooner than later, because the people that are suffering the most are the general population, not the people in the tanks and not the people at the top. They're still getting their MREs and they're still getting their goods.
Well, it's funny you say that, because a lot of the videos we're seeing, and who knows how accurate they are, because war is an exercise in propaganda as much as it is anything else. But there was plenty of videos of Russian troops showing their expired MREs and how they haven't eaten for a few days and they have wet socks. So I would say that, as your point is right on the money, the military is taken care of usually better than the everyday people on the ground. And when you get into a real nightmare, recession situation like this, I would say that they're suffering too, right? But it's the people at the top, the generals and the politicians, the technocrats, the strong men, and the secrets, the special agents, or in the intelligence services and all that. They're doing fine, right? They continue to eat on fine china and to have the best of whatever they need. But it's the everyday people who are suffering for their decisions.
Absolutely. And let's talk about another major industry that's going to affect the Russian economy and the banking system. And
this is a big one.
It's the gold and silver Russian refiners suspended. I'll pull up this. This is a better article that you sent.
Yep. So what's going on is the LBMA, which is the London Bullion Market Association. This is one of the biggest market for gold and silver in the world. They are suspending the accreditation for 6 Russian precious metals refiners, which basically means that their output, their product, is no longer considered to be accredited, so it can't be sold. So they're going to suspend their ability to sell to the London market. And that's huge because gold is up right now. It's one of the, along with oil, it's a commodity that's very expensive. It's hitting near all-time highs. And that's a significant part of the Russian economy. They produce 330 tons of gold a year, which is around $20 billion, around 9% of the total mine supply worldwide. So we're talking about hitting them in a big way, right? And that's a big part of their economy. The Russian economy is known to be agriculture and energy and refining and a lot of mining and refining of metals. So this is a big part of their economy, and it's hitting them in a big way. And one of the things to make this even clearer is that what happens is in the Russian economy is that the commercial banks buy most of the metal that's mined, then they send it over to some refiners and they sell it abroad, or they sell it to the Russian central bank. Well, this closing down the ability to sell to the London market is going to drastically leave them with a large amount of supply they can't find market for. And that's going to reduce the amount of foreign exchange and liquidity in the Russian banking system. Because remember, it's the commercial banks are the ones selling this gold. And so for them not to be able to sell it, that's going to reduce their revenues, and it's ultimately going to potentially lead to a liquidity crisis in their banking system, which might mean run on the banks. It might mean the need for bailouts, and depending on how these banks are linked together with loans with other entities, the counterparty risk story comes about, like what we have Lehman Brothers, and you could have this escalation where a liquidity crisis could turn into a debt crisis. It could turn into a depression, a panic. All of this is on the table. And I would say probably by design.
And not just absolutely by design, not just the banks, but as you mentioned, the refineries and all those industries that are now halting and slowing down. There are whole job markets and economies built around these industries all over Russia. So, definitely send some love and some prayers, not just to the people in Ukraine that are suffering, but also send some love and some prayers to the people in Russia, because there are people on both sides that are innocently going to suffer. And, this is and this will ripple out for sure. These kinds of actions will ripple out to the rest of the world, and we can see the stage of a recession, depression being set for several years. It's seems kind of silly of an overreaction on drastic level, but at the same time, what do you do in order to
stop what's going on?
In order to stop,
we've all seen the pictures, the video. It's nightmarish. You wonder how this could happen. Like you always say, how is this possible in the 21st century? And everybody who's got a soul and a heart was like, well, I want to see this stop now. And that's and it's a complicated situation, and it's open question whether or not these sanctions will pressure the Russian leadership enough, or whether they just weather it and just say, we'll continue and double down on what we're doing. I mean, there's nothing about this that's guaranteed to work, but at the same time, like you say, what do you do? We don't want to risk a hot war with Russia. We know that more violence is probably not the answer.
This does show a lot of coordination on a worldwide level, because
Big time.
If you look at military history in the United States and other countries, there have been conflicts, and there have been,
War. There have been wars and invasions and coups and assassinations.
That's what I was thinking. Assassinations and coups, and all these things taking place. So, and never before did you hear like, oh, the whole world is going to stop just doing business and all these markets. So to all of a sudden hear about these huge industries and everyone, preventing
go back.
The division of labor. We're talking.
You remind me
when the division of labor is less divided. We were talking about this before the video. When you take the division of labor and you make it less divided, what does that happen to the prices? What's next?
Well, it reduces output, and it definitely makes prices go up for sure.
And
you remind when you're laying. Yes, for sure. And you reminded me of something when you were laying out that story about how all these things have happened in the past, these coups, these wars, but yet we haven't seen this global reaction like we have now. And it reminds me of something I remember hearing in school, is that democracies don't go to war with each other. The last time they did, we had, it was a pretty big deal, right? And this is probably the first time since the World War II era when we've had nation state versus nation state, democracy versus democracy, however you want to word it, but superpower versus superpower lining up on either sides of a conflict, right? The closest we got was Vietnam. And that never really, now for why did the world not care? This is what gets interesting. Why did the world not care about the way the Vietnam story played out? Because that was every bit as horrific as what we're seeing now, if not way more, in terms of loss of life. But the way the world reacts is very different. Now, I'll leave it to you to figure out why that might be, or to answer that question yourself. I have my own hunch, but there's definitely a different reaction going on.
Well, I will say that it's great that more people around the world react to war and horrible things with saying this is unacceptable and find a way to stop it. I think that being a general sentiment and being more of a worldwide ethos is a beautiful thing, and
progress.
Is progress and a step in the right direction for sure. That's that.
Yep.
And that we live in a world where technology allows people to communicate instantly so much and share videos on YouTube or through cell phones to see what's happening. There are a lot of changes, a lot of different technologies, Bitcoin and blockchain, but that allow people to communicate, and that communication is a beautiful thing.
There's a decentralization happening, but there also seems to be a change in the ethics or the morals of what kind of things people are willing to tolerate, right? And say they don't support and they won't tolerate. Yeah. So that all in all, it's complicated, but things are changing, and not everything is for the negative. There's some bright spots in the picture for sure.
And that being said, if you would like to be aware and prepare yourself, just understand that these things take months, years to play out. This is just the beginning, and it could take some time. So don't be surprised. Be ready to appreciate that these are the days. And if you've seen some amazing bull runs in markets, just be ready for some times of corrections and consolidation and some more bearish times, because eventually what happens when you have higher prices and you have these supply shocks and the less division of labor, you're going to have more crypto be liquidated as well, because people are going to need to probably sell more or exchange more than they had planned on to cover that rent or to pay for that gas. And, this ripples out in many, many ways around. Now, does blockchain and crypto have a place to grow long-term? Absolutely. And those projects that are innovative and will be around for a while, it's a beautiful thing to participate and be a part of that growth and be there. but it's also good to be prepared and be ready and be aware. It's like they say, hope for the best, but plan for the worst so that you're not caught off guard. You know?
Right. That's well said. Well, I think we have a pretty good wrap up on the macro outlook. All told, it does seem to be that the risks for greater downside price action in the near term are significant. Not financial advice, but that's just my take.
Yeah.
And wish the people the best in the Ukraine and in Russia as well. But let's see if we can get this war wound down. It's not going to help anybody out.
Yeah, let's see if all this work and all this effort and all these corporations coming together to stand together, this makes it happen very fast. I can see a beautiful outcome happening in a very short, a solution coming very quickly, and that way we can get back to.
I heard Pornhub shut down their website in Russia, so that's big.
That's a big deal. And I also thought it would be funny to mention, we forgot to mention this, bullion being shut down. It's kind of a joke, but we were talking about this before the video. Bitcoin spoken about as non-fungible, right? Because like gold or silver, we recently talked about Peter Schiff and Richard Hart in the debate, and Peter Schiff representing gold as a better money and talking about, gold's non-fungibility. And here we have an instance where at this level, at the nation state level, at the central bank level, everything is fungible before the video.
Right.
Gold,
yeah, right.
Gold is no longer non-fungible. Russian gold is different from Chinese gold, which is different from South African gold, and if it's Russian gold, it is no longer, that's some black. If you have access to large stockpiles of Russian gold, you've got yourself some black market gold.
Should be traded at a discount, as you know.
It should be traded at a discount, not financial advice or any kind of advice. And but yeah, so yeah, you know what to do if you like this kind of information, the macro outlook, also blockchain, DeFi, secret updates. And you know what, in times like these, airdrop.
Privacy is important.
Privacy.
Oh, and airdrops.
Opportunity. Airdrops, more airdrops, please. For the next few years. But yeah, you know where to go to find those. Until the next time, have a beautiful day. Namaste, y'all.
Thank you.